Welcome back to part 2 of our Excellence in Execution podcast series. If you haven't joined us for part 1 yet, then please go to wherever you get your podcasts from to listen to the fantastic John Harkin, Millie Munchetty and Ed Charlton share their insights into digital transformation and technological change in insurance services.
Ed, Mimi, we were just talking about bringing everybody in an organisation into the program. So it would be mindful of the segmentation of IT from the business users, etc. One of the things that being selected as an SI to be involved in the project, that doesn't happen overnight. We all know that that's can often be a really long, challenging process. What tips can we give to an insurer or an organisation in the financial services world so they can scratch the surface when they're selecting the SI that they're going to work with? What questions can they ask to find out how some of these cultural pieces are dealt with and managed? Open to anybody who'd like to answer that.
Well, I would start with the mindset they go into it with. If they drink the Kool-Aid, if they just want to hear the great story, then I don't think they're going to get a result that's authentic and realistic. I think more and more of our customers, and in the market, look, there's very few naive customers out there anymore. Many of them are very, very aware. So we're seeing a shift in the market. We're seeing a customer that doesn't want it done to them from day one. Picking up on Mimi's point, they're looking for a partner, they're looking for a client, and they know that these journeys are not straightforward, right? And so from the very beginning of the pitch, don't look for the beauty parade. Engage, have authentic conversations. If somebody presents this straightforward military style rollout to a wonderful success, challenge that. Talk about, that it's not that straightforward. And very quickly put away the slide decks and get into a conversation. Start the process of working with these people to give yourself a sense of what it's going to be like to work with these people. Are they straight talkers? Are they telling you as it is? Can you trust what they're saying? Or are they just trying to sound good and still in sales mode? And more now we're seeing customers that don't really want a sales pitch. They want the facts and figures and understanding, but they want to engage in a collaborative conversation to create a joint vision of the future and a real understanding of what the journey is going to be like.
It's a true partnership, isn't it?
I was going to add that from the very beginning, it often starts with an RFP, RFI, RFP, that whole process. I think we as SIs can help the client by finding out at that stage, where did it emanate from? Is it just purely a technical IT RFP, or does that potential client have a team approach and that this has been reviewed and agreed upon by the business unit?
That's so important, isn't it? And like you say, you can often get a 1 trillion-page digital document or even paper document landing on your desk. What sort of things do you do, Ed, to drill into that and see what the origins are? What's the client actually trying to achieve?
Well, one practical thing is to ask for a meeting. And ask for a meeting that is attended to by both the IT leading this and the business unit.
Yeah.
If it's underwriting or policy, then the underwriting department. If it's claims, someone from the claims department.
Yeah. Mimi, going back to your deeply embedded stick of rock program management running all the way through me. Some of the, I'm going to say quote unquote old school stuff, but things like Eracy, etc. Tell us what that is for the uninitiated.
Of course. So Eracy can help. So you've got responsible, accountable, consulted and informed is what the 4 letters stand for. Can often be used to apply a framework around a set of principles, roles, tasks, anything. It can be used for anything. I'm recently using it to plot out a cloud journey for one of our clients. So, but you can also use it to really help define roles and responsibilities within a program of work. This can be particularly helpful during a multiple team, multi-vendor, multi-client setup, because it can really help drive ownership and clear ownership and accountability. It can support strengthening a strong leadership team in terms of who's owning what and who's responsible for what. And that can drive some clarity for the individual teams, the people within teams. If there is some lack of clarity around any issues or risks that are raised, who do I go to if I've got this problem? That's where we use
goals. It sounds like goals. It sounds like a blueprint. I don't want to mention too many blueprints.
It is a blueprint. Yeah,
one blueprint, two. Too many blueprints. So it sounds like one of the fundamentals, and actually, it's something that we don't see that often. And it seems like it could be the answer to some of these situations and challenges that we've got.
I think also it's slightly underestimated since the rollout of different agile methodologies. Some of these core foundations that sit around a larger program, not a piece of work, but a larger program of work, has meant that the foundations that build up a program that allow you to have governance around a steerco, as an example, have kind of slipped to the side a little bit. Mm-hmm. They're still there, but perhaps not as well maintained as they could be.
But even in these programs that we go into and help, you've done one recently where we've turned it around. It's been in difficulty and building that trust. They all have governance structures. They all have governance processes in place. So, people aren't stupid. They really put these things in place. But it's the quality of the content, the honesty of the content. So I think that's the real challenge, because you can come along and see this great governance structure with these great status reports and all the stuff that goes with it, bells and whistles. But it's actually, is the content honest?
And it's the accessibility and usability, isn't it? Does it just get done and ticked and locked away in a box? Or is it a useful living asset that people can use to help guide them?
It's the so what. Yeah, don't just tick the box. Tell me what's coming next. Yeah, if you've got a problem or you're calling out a problem, what are we going to do about it? And it's the we. It's really important. The we, not one person, not one team, but what can we collectively do?
You just keep coming back to that doing with, not doing to.
Always. Yeah.
As an example of what you just mentioned, Caroline, we just recently had a client who said, "All right, we're going to put together a RACI," and it was very, very good, very. Good content, very structured. And then they said to me, "Okay, we're done the RACI. We're going to put this in a drawer, and we're going to put it away. It has to be a living document that goes throughout the entire implementation process."
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right, because what the roles and responsibilities. Again, you're talking about blending this with agile ed. Things can change very rapidly, can't they? Mm-hmm. So it has to be something that's been really built into the lifeblood.
But we are seeing a shift in the market where clients are actually very knowledgeable. They're very educated. Many of them know the stuff we're talking about today. They'll go, there is a secret sauce in there, because many of those things we use. How do we... So what they're asking for now is different. They're not asking for, in the past, typically they would have asked for a large, sometimes arrogant, but knowledgeable organization to come in and run this transformation for them. And the clients would be looking for someone who would, the supplier would say, "We'll get our arms around you. We'll make this happen for you." And frankly, they just find that patronizing now. Mm-hmm. These are knowledgeable, experienced people that are saying, no, we're going to have a major say in how this is run. We're looking for a partner that's going to work alongside us. Adult-to-adult relationship, not parent-child. We don't want a dependent relationship. We want to feel a great sense of control, and, that our part of this is valued and makes a difference. So we're seeing a difference now on what customers are asking for. And I think some of the traditional suppliers are really struggling with that, because they have an incredible machine that they've built over decades that deliver what they deliver. And they adjust that is quite a challenge because their machine delivers in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, their business and the financials of their business is built in a certain way, and their KPIs drive certain scale and size of programs. There's an example one at the minute that, I believe the supplier was expecting a 3-year program for 150 people. That's a significant dollar number. And what the client ended up with after the inception phase was actually a much more agile approach, a much smaller scale team, faster deliveries, getting things up and running and bite size. And to be honest, the supplier was like, but that doesn't make my machine work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we're seeing an inflection point in the market where, companies are changing. They don't want 150 people working on a program, 35 that know what they're doing. With,
they want to develop
things being delivered every 6 months, building trust and building reliability and making people feel successful is quite a shift.
It's a massive shift. And it sounds like you're talking about the shift towards suppliers helping people feel sufficient? There's a word that I'm looking for.
Independent.
That's it. And having sustainable skills in their own organisations, which, as you say, if you've got a business model based around people needing you and you are fulfilling that need, then that's a real mind shift change, isn't it?
Well, those organisations, when you go back with your win, if it's not 100 million or 50 million or, very big numbers, some of these organizations go, but that's not going to feed this machine. That's not going to keep us alive and moving.
Which fills in with the leadership, the honesty, the openness, the transparency that Ed, you and Mimi were talking about. Mimi was talking about plotting a cloud journey that you're working on now. I know that you're involved in a great deal of moving off premise into cloud. The approach that we're talking about around collaboration and really looking at the what's in it for me, how does that work when you're looking at something that can be as large as moving to cloud?
Well, we actually did that for a client in North America. We led the deployment into the cloud for them. And but when I said we led it, I think the leadership and collaboration is a big issue. So we started out by providing a framework because they really didn't have a clue as to what to do. But then we joined with probably a team representing every aspect of the business that followed what we outlined in the deployment program. And by the end, John used a great word, they don't want to be dependent. By the end of us leading them into the cloud, they were no longer dependent on us. And their whole team took over.
And that's a win because they are they're built in a self-sufficiency.
And I think what John had mentioned, like some of the other SIs don't approach it that way. But I think we're seeing in the marketplace that insurance carriers are becoming more knowledgeable buyers, and they can see that a certain approach is just going to lead them into dependency and not independency.
Yeah. I don't know whether we're talking about codependency actually we're talking about partnership, aren't we? Partnership, collaboration. And we're talking about mindset change. Not easy for me to say, apparently. Mindset change. Because of course, many of the clients that we're dealing with have been, maybe they're in their second or third decade of solutions architecture, etc. They've been built up with a waterfall approach and very, definitive ways of doing things. How do we get people to move this mindset to the SI really being a support and being part of their team, but then moving away when necessary? How do we promote that kind of good teamwork between us and our clients? Who wants to go first with that?
I'll go first on this one. So I think there's a few things. As John said earlier, our clients are much more educated about what they need and what they want. We very much work with our clients to not stick around forever. And what I mean by that is that we want to support them to build a sustainable team, to build their internal capabilities. This is a bit new, right, in terms of what traditional suppliers were doing with their clients. Yeah, there were big managed services that ran for a colossal number of years. That's changing now. And what the insurers are looking for now is not just the cheapest proposal that can be put on their desk, not just ticking all their boxes in an RFP. They're also looking for investment in a partnership, right? What are the value add drivers that they can get in terms of working with a supplier in this slightly different way? And I think, for us, we always buddy our resources up with client resources to drive coaching and mentoring. It's the same philosophy we have within our own company. So we want to drive that culture through any program of work or project that is run in.
I mean, our experienced people that we hire go through the same academy as our graduates.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. We've got people with 10 years insurance software experience that come and join Alchemy, and they sit alongside the graduates. They go through everything about our culture, about our behaviors. They go through their insurance certifications because most of them have never had them. They go through their agile training because many of them haven't worked in that way. And, they love it. And the thing is, they know that they bring lots of other experience, but they want to go through those same basics so that they feel then they can build their experience into the thing moving forward, So an experienced skier, if they go and learn to snowboard, they don't end up the same place as the beginner in snowboard. They then apply all the other knowledge they have and they accelerate their careers. But the folks that we hire really don't mind doing that. They don't feel that's a waste of time. They don't feel it's beneath them. They build it in, which means when we go to our customer and they ask for that, we can take their staff from their legacy systems. We have one customer that have got 1,000-strong IT department. How do they shift those people from that legacy COBOL stuff, waterfall and everything else? They look at our program, they see the experienced people go through it, so they apply our approach of the academy and the bootcamp and build up that strength and capability to shift that mindset. And build the confidence that you really can teach an old dog new tricks.
You absolutely can.
You absolutely can.
I'm in my 50s. I'm going to learn some more new tricks for sure. Ed, did you want to chip in there?
Yeah, one thing that John has said, and I had said earlier when you asked the first question about how I became involved, was the Alchemy Academy program and training. We have started to apply that Alchemy Academy program to customers. So we'll train them just as our people have been trained in insurance, in software deployment, through institutional classroom training, and then boot camp. And in boot camp, they actually work on software projects. And we have gotten great reviews from the insurance carrier who we applied that training program to, and they now have those people as part of their staff going forward, which means they're less dependent on us.
Yeah.
They can do more on their own.
And that's a skill in its own right. Yeah. Ed, what you've just described there, pairing that with what John's just said about almost the different generations coming together. So you're bringing those new people on, you're putting them through an insurance formal training program, which I know that you do. They are also learning whichever system it is that they're working on. So if they're using Guidewire, they're using policy system, claim system, whatever it may be. And then you're bringing on those more expert people who perhaps come in with that industry domain expertise, but then they're able to apply it to the systems themselves. How do you, what results do you see in terms of putting that much effort into training up your staff? So when they go onto site, what do they do? Big bang? Do they do, what sort of implementation process are they following?
Well, here's the biggest shift. Our customers, clients no longer come to us and say, how many years experience does that person have? Right. That's out the window now. I remember we had a customer said, yeah, we can't have anyone on the project that doesn't have like more than 5 years experience. That just doesn't work for us. And luckily, as part of a delivery team, we already had a half dozen people on the program that had 2 years experience that they felt were outstanding. And so suddenly they went, we got to stop talking in years. We got to stop being ageist. We've got to start talking about what can they do? What's this person
great way of
capable of doing? So, we introduced a language and a terminology. We're called Alchemy, so it had to be bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and all that. But
precious metals.
You actually define what the person can do. And it's not to do with what age they are, their background, or where they came from. What are they now capable and reliable to do on the team for you? What can you absolutely plug in as part of your plan that person will get that done, right? As part of this, collaborative team that want to be able to depend on each other and trust each other. And I think that's quite a big shift, really, because that's part of dealing with the legacy side of people, right? That are all heading for retirement and know these legacy systems and every trick in the book. And, you've got to go back to a named person if you're going to touch that part of the system, because it's only that named person. And if they're on 2 weeks holiday, you just got to wait, right?
You've got to wait.
And so you've got to shift that. You've just got to shift that. The other thing it allows is when you're building a team and you're looking at the cost of maintaining a system, obviously people learn stuff and they mature and they get more experienced. If you can't have a mechanism for shifting people to different roles and different jobs that they're now suitable for, that actually your cost base for maintaining that system just keeps going up every time you give the person a rise to retain them. So you have to have a mechanism where you say, actually, we call it, you need 3 bronzes, 2 silvers, whatever. And that should be able to manage that system. Mm-hmm. And then as the people mature through their grades and through their capabilities, and this works for inside a company as well.
Yeah.
You're not giving them work that really is costing too much for them to do. Mm-hmm. Because, someone of a lower cost grade or a lower cost capability can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
So you're finding a way of, not having these massive escalating costs.
Yeah, they can get out of control, can't it?
Yeah.
Which is where we touched on at the beginning of the podcast. Migrations getting out of control and how we rein them back in. Goodness me, so much. Well, we all know that there's many facets, don't we, to digital transformation, and we've picked up some real nuggets today. I'm going to ask you to do the impossible, really. I think we've got a lot of listeners in here who've picked up some great tips from you and some great advice, and I think really importantly, learn from your battle scars, which is also really helpful. If you had a magic wand and you could only pick one piece of advice, John, I'm going to finish with you. So I'm going to start with you, Ed. What's the one piece of advice you would give to somebody or an organisation that is about to embark on their digital transformation journey?
Choose an SI that shows you they are willing to work together with you in a collaborative way, and in such a way that you will not become dependent on them forever and you'll become independent.
Brilliant. Love that. Thank you, Ed. Mimi?
People with a capital P.
Capital P.
Don't underestimate the investment that you should put aside for cultural change and investment in your people. They're your biggest asset, right? Don't underestimate that.
Don't underestimate your people. Thank you, Mimi. John, give us something to take away.
If you're the leader, you've got to decide where your arrival point's going to be. And the answer can't be just the systems in on time to budget. That's a great part of it, right? Meeting everyone's expectations, but actually thinking about the way I go about this change is going to dictate the end result. And what you need as an organization to be sustainable and grow in the future, you will take a view. We've got clients now that are planning 3 years out and saying we need to, develop a program where we'll have this in place, whether it be the exit of the SI or whether it be the completion of the system. What do we need people-wise? How do we want the processes? But more importantly, alongside the technology, what sort of culture do we want? What sort of place do we want to be? How are we going to retain this talent? Because I think the biggest challenge is then retaining that talent that you've invested in. So as a leader, it's a big responsibility, I think, to take an honest view on how am I going to approach this.
3 amazing nuggets. I'm just going to summarize those. So Ed, pick dig deep into your SI, ask the right questions to make sure that you're going to work collaboratively and in partnership. And as an insurer, you're also going to grow your own capabilities. So at the right point in time, you can stand united and just bring that SA back in, maybe for a future activity. Mimi, you talked about don't underestimate the importance of people. Projects and programs and people make the projects and programs. Thank you for that. And then John, leadership, having self-awareness, understanding what, not just having a shiny new system at the end of it, but shiny new people, having an operating model. What's the purpose of getting your system in? What do you want your business to look like in 3 years? So thank you so much for taking part in this massively important, informative conversation. I feel like I can brush up my own program skills from listening to you. So thanks for taking part. Excellence in execution. All three of you have demonstrated your absolute fantastic capabilities there. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to hearing from you in some of our future sessions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks, Caroline.